Hi, sixth graders, I'm back, and today we're going to do a lesson on adding and subtracting fractions that don't have the same denominator, okay? So we're going to have to think a little bit harder on this, but I think you can do it. Okay, let's check out some problems. Okay, this is our first problem. So as you can see, we do not have the same numerator, nope, we don't have the same numerator, but we don't have the same denominator. And we know when we are adding or subtracting fractions, we have to have the same denominator. We have to have that bottom number being the same. Okay, so what we need to do is find a common denominator. And when we're finding a common denominator, we want to find the least common multiple of those two numbers. Okay, I like to use a multiplication chart for my kids. Okay, so what I have them do is I look at my denominators. I have 8 and 4. I'm going to put my finger on 4, and I'm going to put my finger on 8 on my multiplication chart, and I'm going to see what the first number they have in common is. So I can see the first number they both have is 8. So that's what I'm going to use as a common denominator here. Okay, well, this one already has 8 on the bottom, so I don't have to do anything to that. I'm just going to bring him straight over. Okay, down here I don't have 8. But I'm going to make it 8. Okay, so I got to figure out how do I go from 4 to 8. What do I do to that 4 to get 8? You're right, I multiply it times 2. And remember, with fractions, whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top, the exact same thing. So I multiply the top times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. I have common numbers. I'm ready to add. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now be careful. We do not add our denominators. We have common denominators. We have like denominators, so we keep it like. We use the same one. We just bring that denominator straight down. Okay, let's look at a subtraction problem. Well, here we are again. We do not have like denominators. They are not the same. We need to find their least common multiple, the first number they have in common. So I'm again going to use my multiplication chart. I'm going to put my finger on 12, and I'm going to put my finger on 3. And I'm going to go across until I see something they have in common. Well, there it is. They both have 12. So that's my least common multiple. 12 is what I'm going to use for my denominator. Again, this one already has 12. We're just going to bring him straight over. This one does not have 12, so we need it to have 12. So I'm going to make it 12. Now, like before, I've got to say, how do I get 12? What am I going to do? Well, I know that I multiply 3 times 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 1 times 4 is 4. And now I am ready to subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. Common denominator. Keep it common. I keep it the same. 1, because every time I'm working with a fraction answer, I need to say to myself, can I simplify that? Can I reduce that? Is there something I could divide both of these by? And the answer is yes, I can divide those both by 3. Remember, whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So if I divide those both by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. I have reduced my fraction. Okay, I've got one more I want to show you guys. All right, this time I have 3 numbers. Yes, I can do that, adding fractions. But it just makes it a little more difficult because 3 fingers on my multiplication chart, a little harder. So I see my denominators are 8, 4, and 2. I need the same one. I go to my multiplication chart, and this time I'm looking at 8, I'm looking at 4, and I'm looking at 2. And I'm going to go across, and I'm going to see what they have in common. And I see that they have 8 in common. That's the first number they have in common. So I'm using 8 as my denominator. Well, this one already has 8. This one's about to get 8. And same with this one. So I'm going to work with this fraction first. 4 times what gets me 8? You're right, 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 2, 2. All right, down here. 2 times what gets us 8? You're right, 4. Whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. 1 times 4, 4. I am ready to add. I'm going to keep my denominator. And then I'm going to add my numerators. 1, 2, 3. 3 plus 4, 7. I ask myself every time, can I reduce this number? You're right, it cannot be reduced because 7 is prime. The only thing we could divide both of these by is 1. That would be useless because it'd be the same answer. All right, guys. I hope that helped. Yesterday I put a link for a multiplication chart on there. You can search one of those and print one of those and have it handy when you're doing your work. So we will see you tomorrow. Bye.